Hi folks, so the new moon in Aquarius is on January the 29th, tomorrow at 4:35 a.m. So, first and foremost, the dark of the moon theory, at least for me, is so true. I'm determined to get my work done today, but if I could just spend the day eating potato chips and watching YouTube videos, something I try to tell my clients to limit, I would happily do that. So, if you are using the dark of the moon to kind of unwind and release, that's totally fine. Yesterday, I did the video on sort of the weekly overview. And, when you spend an hour on something like that and you're trying to remain focused and get the messages out, while the video was uploading, I decided I would just kind of lie down for 10 minutes. And next thing I knew, hours had passed and I really had a kind of a dark of the moon kind of sleep. It was as if it was difficult to get out of the sleep. It was I was a totally out kind of sleep. And I realized that I have not really slept like that since the fires here in LA. So it was a kind of and that's something that the dark of the moon, it's kind of like the moon is going through her own 12th house at that time and releasing an old cycle, which she is. She's, the moon yesterday when this was happening was in Capricorn, which is the sign in which the last new moon was. So she was wrapping up affairs related to that new moon. And yeah, so if you have, feelings of anxiety, worry, depression, lowness, or just feeling the need to, having an inability to be active, or feeling like you're releasing or processing a whole 28-day cycle, then that energetically feels about right prior to the new moon. The new moon happens, and as I say, I energetically can feel the new moon pretty soon after a new moon. Now, the moon is still dark, and as I've said to you before, sometimes people wait until they can see the crescent of the moon to really feel like the energy is returning, whatever. I think that becomes a little, the energy is what it is. There are ebbs and flows and dips in our emotional and energetic capacity and intuitive capacity and our ability to handle certain things. And when the moon is dark, before and right after new moon, the energy is low. And when the moon is full and on its way to being full and around the full moon, then it's, like the pot of milk coming to a boil, as I say, or the wave crashing to the shore, as I say, blah, blah, blah. There's a greater intensity. So we'll track that and go along with it. The yesterday's video for the weekly overview, today's video for the new moon, and then tomorrow's video, I think it'll be tomorrow or day after. I like to give a day's break between videos, but I don't know that it makes sense to do so. But the next video, they all go hand in hand. And I know that's a lot to watch. You can watch whatever makes sense to you and whatever you feel comfortable. Yesterday is a weekly overview. Today's video is the new moon. And then the next video I'm going to talk about this Venus-Neptune North Node conjunction, but especially the North Node and the Neptune conjunction, and the interplay between Venus and Saturn and the Sun and Mercury with Neptune and the North Node. It's such an important interesting, puzzling. We're all waiting to see what all of this is going to look like, and that's going to be its own separate discussion tomorrow. Why am I bringing this up? The new moon in and of itself is trining Jupiter. By the way, before I leave this again to the end of the video, if you are interested in me doing a 2025 reading of your birth chart, the transits, the most important transits of 2025 and how they are affecting your birth chart, you have till Friday close of business, the 31st of January, to get in touch with me using the email address below. And it is a discounted reading. It's not my usual price in any geography, so you can email me using the email address below on or before January the 31st. Let me know which country you're writing from, and I can at least get you the information. If you write to me, it doesn't matter that we've got it scheduled by the end of January. We'll schedule it in February if we need to. But just a friendly reminder that that special is done by the end of January. I have been meaning to get that a mini announcement out at the top of the readings, and they've been falling to the back. Okay, let's come back to the new moon in Aquarius. The new moon in Aquarius is trining Jupiter in Gemini. That is the aspect that the new moon is making. But encoded into this new moon are three aspects. A retrograde Mars in Cancer squares Chiron and trines Saturn. Now, do I have the dates for when these become exact? Let's take a look. Mars squares Chiron on the 3rd of February, and Mars trines Saturn on the 8th of February, and the full moon is on the 29th. But on the 29th, Mars is getting ready to square Chiron and getting ready to trine Saturn are within 5 degrees of that aspect becoming exact. So that energy is encoded into this new moon. And there's been so much emphasis on, and a lot of us can feel what a tumultuous time this is, right? And so the fact that we have a new moon that is trine Jupiter, and encoded into this new moon is a retrograde Mars trining Saturn, I want you guys to take hope and heart from that. That's lovely. It's a lovely new moon. New moon trine Jupiter, come on. And I'll talk about that. And a Mars trining Saturn. So the three aspects that are encoded into this new moon: Mars trining Saturn, Mars retrograde in Cancer trining Saturn in Pisces, Mars retrograde in Cancer squaring Chiron in Aries, and Venus and Neptune and the North Node conjuncting in Pisces. Those are all now within a 5-degree orb. And Venus, as you know, conjuncts Neptune on February the 1st, and Venus conjuncts the North Node on February the 3rd. And in yesterday's weekly overview, I already started to dissect this energy because we are going to be feeling it during this week. Venus went over, I'm just amused at myself because I was looking at some of these dates, etc. yesterday, and I just dove into this video. I was like, it's time to do this video. Let me dive into this video. And I'm searching for some of these dates. Venus went through Aquarius. Out of all the personal planets making their... What do we have in Aquarius? We've got Pluto in Aquarius. And Pluto came into Aquarius in November of 2024 and is going to be in Aquarius till 2032. And Pluto spent a lot of 2024 in Aquarius. For the first few months, then retrograded back into Capricorn to wrap up his Capricorn transit since 2008, and then finally in Aquarius in 2024. And we now have the Sun and Mercury in Aquarius, and they both have just cleared their conjunctions with Pluto. Most importantly, along with the conjunctions with Pluto, the other aspect that the planets are going to make, the personal planets, Venus, Mercury, the Sun, the new moon, are going to make as they go through Aquarius. Sorry, I was just having an aha. That's what my aha face looks like. Is the trine to Jupiter and Gemini. The other aspect the planets as they make their way through Aquarius will make is a square to Uranus. And I just realized that the full moon in Leo, the corresponding full moon to this Aquarius new moon, 2 weeks from now, on February the 12th, is square Uranus. Because these planets as they move through Aquarius will square Uranus. Venus is, out of the personal planets right now, Venus is moving ahead first and kind of far from the Sun and Mercury. The Sun is coming in next, Mercury is coming in after that. Mercury and the Sun are going to conjunct on February the 9th. And then Mercury will move ahead of the Sun. And as far as this particular conjunction is concerned, just remember that as you head towards February the 9th, I would say starting about February the 4th till about February the 14th, the Mercury will lose its power because he's going to be conjunct the Sun. So he will be combust. And it's an important conversation that the Sun and Mercury will have, and we will cover that in a separate video as I talk about the importance of that conjunction with the Mercury cycle that began in Sagittarius. We're sort of entering a second phase with this conjunction, but just be prepared that as you, let's just say 5 days before February the 9th, 5 days after February the 9th, with increasing intensity as you get to February the 9th, Mercury retrograde things may happen. Mercury may not be able to exercise his power quite so freely or strongly because he is technically combust. So that's just something to keep in mind. But Mercury and the Sun are going to conjunct, and then on the 12th of February, there'll be the full moon in Leo, which is square Uranus. Okay. Venus, being the planet that is moving ahead, moved through Aquarius between December 7th and January the 3rd. And you've heard me say this so much by now because it's such a factor by the time we're getting to the new moons right now. It's so lovely that they've added this. They've added a couple new features on iPhones that are coming as part of the downloads that are so convenient. There's a pause button now when you're recording a video, which I mean, I can't tell you how convenient that is. And on phone calls now, you can record phone calls quite easily using your iPhone now. Anyway, sorry, my cat is trying to pass a hairball. My cat is preparing to take care of a hairball, and he absolutely refuses to take hairball medication. So of course, it's this process. And for some reason, it's always whenever I'm doing a video that he starts to start this process. It's always kind of amusing to me. But that's not entirely true. That's not entirely true. I just hear it really loudly when that happens. Anyway, back to this particular new moon. Venus went through, we've been talking about Venus's effect whenever she transits a house much more recently because she is traveling first out of the personal planets into a house. And at some interval, because Venus was last in Aquarius on January the 3rd, and there was a 2 to 3 week gap until the Sun came into Aquarius on January the 21st, or thereabouts, January the 19th, 21st, or thereabouts, that apart from Pluto, none of the personal planets were in Aquarius. And Venus's entry into Pisces has been so eventful with her conjunctions to Saturn, and now her conjunction to Neptune, and a conjunction to the North Node, that the Aquarius part of the chart, while it was hosting Venus for much of December, just kind of ceased to be that much of an energetic draw. Venus is going to go retrograde, of course, in March, and then she's going to meet up with the Sun, and then she's going to be behind the Sun and Mercury. So the sequence is going to change, and I almost prefer it when Venus comes in behind Mercury and the Sun, because with all the dust that is kicked up by Mercury and the month created by the new moon, then Venus can come in and kind of smooth things out and provide resolution. Right now, with Venus moving ahead of the Sun and Mercury, what Venus is doing is opening up opportunities, planting seeds, lowering the drawbridge from a relationship perspective, making connections, maybe even lowering the drawbridge in relationships where the drawbridge has been up. So where there's been tension, creating portals or openings for harmony, for reconciliation, for greater conversation. And now with Mercury and the Sun in Aquarius, and most importantly with this new moon occurring in Aquarius tomorrow, we get to be in action and communication. We have a month between January the 28th and February the 27th, I believe. Oh dear. Why was I not totally prepared? And with my South Node in Gemini, I have such a desire to be precise with dates that it bugs me. I can't move forward until I give you the right date, which is not a bad thing when you're looking for something like this from an astrologer. The new moon in Pisces is on February the 27th, but between now and February the 27th, we have a month of Aquarius and being able to focus on, and being able to focus on actions and the tasks that I needed to bring the Aquarius part of our chart into alignment with what we value. Wow, this is the weirdest video. Hold on one sec. Sorry, I need to get some water. I think the universe is so delighted that I have discovered the pause button, that the universe is delighting in my delight at the pause button, saying, let's use it as many times as we can in this video. You all know I never hit the pause button. I mean, if I have to stop a video for a reason, I will stop it and restart it. So the pause button is a great help, but let's see if we can keep going. Of course we can keep going. So from tomorrow's new moon till February the 27th, we have a month of taking actions to bring the Aquarius part of the chart, the house occupied by the sign of Aquarius in your chart, where Venus transited between December the 7th and January the 3rd, December 7th of 24 to January 3rd, 25. And now we have an opportunity to bring the Aquarius part of the chart into alignment with what we value, and in a way that is productive and constructive and meaningful to us. Venus, when she makes her transit, typically asks us to consider what it will take. What does alignment look like? Peace, harmony, productivity, abundance. What we value in that part of the chart as she makes her transit. And she opens up communication, the opportunity to connect with people, to start to move things into that kind of alignment. As I said to you in my weekly overview yesterday, depending on where the houses of Aquarius and Pisces sit in your chart, there could be a correlation between the activities you're taking on in the Aquarius part of the chart and with everything that Saturn is trying to do to stabilize the Pisces part of the chart, and this Venus North Node Neptune conjunction that is also occurring. Because especially if you've got Aquarius in your first, Pisces in the second, Aquarius in the seventh, Pisces in the eighth, Aquarius in the ninth, Pisces in the 10th, then there could be a more marked coordination of activities between whatever's occurring in both the Aquarius and the Pisces part of the chart. And of course, the Pisces part of the chart is going to get more and more momentum. And I want you to look at this, I know we're going to have a Mercury and a Venus retrograde in March. And I know that that is going to be complicated and challenging and rough. But I really, 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 really want us all to look at the time period between now and the middle of April to the end of April as an opportunity, as a longed for opportunity, as a portal, as a window, that as change is tumultuous, that as tumultuous as it might be, it is necessary because there's an awareness that certain aspects of the status quo are not sustainable. So I would actually look at what is coming up in the Pisces part of the chart with some amount of excitement, with an understanding that the universe and the planets may prod us along, sometimes in an unpleasant way, to take action. A deadline is an unpleasant way of having to take action, for example. A phone call from someone saying, I was expecting this from you, or I need this from you, or you're lax on this, or you're behind from this. These can all be ways to get us moving in certain directions. Sometimes the universe withholding abundance can be a sign for us to take action in a certain direction. Necessity is the mother of invention. So the new moon in Aquarius, coming back to that, and of course it's a time for action, but because Mercury and the Sun are so close together, it's also a time for processing and communication. And Mercury and the Sun are conjunct on the 9th of February. It could be that the communication becomes more and more, you know, it's one of those things where Mercury is actually traveling pretty fast right now. Mercury and the Sun conjunct on the 9th, and I think, and Mercury is in Pisces by the 14th. Absolutely, Mercury is traveling fast right now. I mean, when we have the Leo full moon on February the 12th, yeah, no. Not only is it a time of action, but it is also a time of processing and communication, and all of that is going to go hand in hand with the action that you're going to be taking in the sign of Aquarius over the next month, as inaugurated by this new moon in Aquarius. When we get to that full moon in Leo, you might become aware of some issue that has to do with bringing the Aquarius part of the chart into alignment, your reaction to it from the Leo part of the chart, the opposite house to Aquarius, and how action needs to be taken in order to allow Uranus to create the path that is right for you in the Taurus part of your chart. I'm going to give you that heads up now. I'm going to share all this information because for those of you who know your chart, these things may already be brewing. You may already have an awareness of all of this kind of going. What does it mean to have a new moon trine Jupiter? Jupiter is traditionally the luckiest planet, so to speak. Although my own experience of all the planets is that they bring their own luck. But in Jupiter's case, the influence is overwhelmingly auspicious from the perspective of ending a 12-13-year cycle and starting a 12-13-year cycle that is more aligned to who you are and where you want to go in the Gemini part of your chart. Jupiter is retrograde and is going direct on February the 4th. So for all intents and purposes, Jupiter is stationary at this point in time. And it's been an eventful Jupiter retrograde because right from the planets transiting through Sagittarius, they have been in some sort of conversation with Jupiter throughout that time. Jupiter went retrograde, I think, in October. As the personal planets transited through Sagittarius, they opposed Jupiter. Jupiter himself, as he headed towards Christmas, squared Saturn for the second time of 3 in Pisces. Jupiter has been actively in conversation with Saturn, trying to stabilize the Pisces part of the chart. As the planets moved into Aquarius, Venus first, and now the Sun and Mercury, and now this new moon we've got a harmonious trine to Jupiter in Gemini. Whatever this new moon is bringing up with regard to actions being taken and the ability to bring the Aquarius part of the chart in alignment with what you value, it has the potential of informing Jupiter just as he's getting ready to go direct, with regard to what that alignment could mean in relation to the endings and new beginnings he is trying to create in the Gemini part of your chart. I mean, it's that simple. The focus with the new moon in any part of the chart of the next month clearly needs to be on the part of the chart where the new moon is, the house occupied by Aquarius. But if you are really contemplating and bringing the Aquarius part of the chart into alignment, building on the opportunities that Venus provided in December. And when Venus provides opportunities, she may provide multiple opportunities that give you the ability to determine what is the best right path for you. Sometimes we may take the path of least resistance with an opportunity that Venus provides, only to realize that all the time when we were contemplating that, our instincts were saying, no, don't go down that route. It's the path of, go down this route, and this is what you really value, and this is what you need to do to bring that part of the chart into alignment. And so sometimes we may take something that Venus has given us that is easier to latch onto, only to realize, oh, always knew, thanks Venus for clarifying what really I want to do in order to bring the Aquarius part of the chart into alignment. So you may, now that the Sun and Mercury are in Aquarius and you have the new moon in Aquarius, you may even contemplate shifting strategies or courses or opportunities to really understand what it is that you should do and how to bring the Aquarius part of the chart into alignment. And in the process of doing so, there's a connection. There's an opportunity that as you bring the Aquarius part of the chart into alignment with what you value, Jupiter, it unlocks something in Jupiter to say, all right, got it. If this is the direction in which you're going in the Aquarius part of the chart, this is how I will consequently align the endings and new beginnings that I'm creating in the Gemini part of the chart. And I will move forward with that all the way to June the 9th, June the 8th, when Jupiter leaves Gemini to go into Cancer. A retrograde Mars in Cancer trines Saturn for the second of 3 times on February the 9th. Mars squaring Chiron, all I want to say about that is that it's clear that there's some action that needs to be taken from the Cancer part of the chart that will help you become more empowered in the Aries part of your chart. Return to yourself, heal yourself in some way, which means that some action needs to be taken towards self-empowerment. But in the process of contemplating the self-empowerment action, you also stand to help Saturn stabilize the Pisces part of the chart. And with everything that is going to be going on in the Pisces part of the chart with increasing intensity in March and April, with Venus being retrograde between Aries and Pisces, Mercury being retrograde between Aries and Pisces, Venus conjuncting Saturn 2 more times, Venus getting ready to conjunct Neptune in the North Node right now. With all of that building intensity, stabilize the Pisces part of the chart, realize your ambitious plans or create some structure and create some goals if what has been woolly is artistic or spiritual endeavors or ambitions, or really take responsible action to address issues that have gotten out of hand in the Pisces part of the chart by our not being able to be taking responsible actions, or if there's something truly Neptunian going on that is deceptive or foggy or gaslighty, then put the boundaries in place. So much that gives that mounting intensity that is building in the Pisces part of the chart optimism is the trine for Mars. Mars trining Saturn is a very powerful opportunity to take strategic action that might have a passive quality and might have a quality where you are redrawing your plans. What are my goals? How am I approaching them? Where am I in conflict? What has been my approach to conflict? As I said, Mars retrograde for me is very much taking a look at a plan that was in place and revising it based on what you are finding out. Mars has that kind of arrow towards the future, arrow towards goals, arrow towards defending what it values. Going after what you want, defending what you value, Mars. And when Mars is retrograde, it is time to take a look at the plan of action and go over it again. And when it comes to addressing issues related to conflict or pursuing goals, it may also be time to do it in a slightly more behind the scenes or a slightly more passive manner. Something that is less overtly assertive or aggressive. And it could very well be that that approach at this point in time contributes strongly to helping Saturn stabilize the Pisces part of the chart, which is a very important energy in 2025. In fact, it is the important energy in 2025. For the first 5 months of 25 and the last 4 months of 25, Saturn in Pisces is the most important transit. And in the first 4 months of 2025, Venus conjunct Saturn, which Venus did when she entered her shadow degrees on January the 18th. And the 2 more conjunctions to Saturn that happen in April are the most important aspects. It is a new moon that is full of opportunity to take action and move forward, especially for the first, I would say for all of February. Venus retrograde is not the same as Mercury retrograde. Mercury does not go retrograde till March the 15th. Am I losing my mind? No, March the 15th. All the way to the end of the first week of March, it is time for forward movement. Now, if you have Mercury retrograde in your birth chart, this forward movement is likely defined by decisions you made when Mercury was retrograde last, between November the 26th and December the 15th of 24. If you have Mercury direct in your birth chart, this is the time to move forward and then let the Mercury retrograde between March the 15th and April the 7th of 25 correct your plan of action. But February is a month of forward movement. And yes, Venus is going to go retrograde on March the 1st, between March the 1st and April the 13th. April the 13th. I finally have these dates in my brain. And you will, during that time, have to contemplate perhaps financial austerity and relationship austerity. How am I aligning my resources towards what it is that I want to do? And which relationships are aligned to what I value and which relationships are not. So relationships and finances, especially we're trying to close out certain things in the Pisces part of the chart so that by the time we get to the middle to the end of April, we can land in the Aries part of the chart in a more grounded manner. Similarly, we're trying to close out certain things in the Cancer part of the chart with Mars retrograde there, so that by the middle to the end of April, we can land more securely in the Leo part of the chart in a more grounded manner. Water signs closure to land into fire sign, moving forward to realize our ambitions and our goals. Archetypally, relationship issues, reaching some sort of closure, or at least moving towards it, because some of the closure may not come until September of 25 to February of 26. But making enough progress so that we can move forward, especially between the middle to the end of April to the end of the first week of June, in a direction that we have been trying to move forward in, that we've articulated to ourselves since March, April 23. And for anyone who is overwhelmed or a little rocked by January, I would say use February to help move you forward. You have a new moon trining Jupiter and Mars getting ready to trine Saturn. Actions towards long-term stability. Actions towards the right types of endings and new beginnings of alignment in the Gemini part of your chart, and stability from the Cancer part of the chart to the Pisces part of the chart. It's, take heart. Don't get on the horse. Start moving towards what you want to do. Cleaning up the Pisces part of the chart and stabilizing it, and moving towards your ambitions and goals, and moving towards creating the life you want. It's that, from my perspective, it's that dramatic. It may not be loud, but that energy is in the air after this new moon, given what is encoded. In addition, what is encoded is Venus, the planet of opportunity and abundance and relationships and what we value and our values, conjuncting Neptune and the North Node. The conjunction to Neptune has its overwhelming positives if you're looking for inspiration, creative inspiration, artistic opportunities, spiritual opportunities. But it has its problematic side with regard to things like theft or deception. You just watch out, as I said to you, just watch out for that as this week goes. And if in the Pisces part of the chart you're feeling like, I need to make that phone call, or I need to reach out to so-and-so, or reach out to, you may want to do it in the next couple of days before we get too close to February the 1st when that conjunction happens, although we're close enough to it. So you may want to wait until next week to kind of make those phone calls again, or something along those lines. I don't know. Venus conjuncting the North Node is an opportunity to move in the right direction. The only complexity with the North Node and Neptune being conjunct together is just make sure that an opportunity that is meant for you, remain grounded about it. Just keep your eye on the prize and don't give it too much exposure for there to be some sort of a theft or a nabbing or whatever it is. Set your boundaries where you need to set as far as the week is concerned. But with some of the stuff that I'm saying, don't get too... The problem with Neptune is that it can make us paranoid, or it can really put us in this kind of space, and it prevents us from taking action. Whereas the solutions can be so simple. By just taking action, we can end up protecting ourselves. As I said, look at this time period between now and the end of April as an opportunity to put energy leaks to bed in the Pisces part of the chart and move towards the Aries and the Leo part of the chart with greater confidence. And change is not always easy. You may need to keep an eye on your bank balance and your security as you are ending certain things that are old and moving towards the new. But the Venus-Neptune North Node conjunction can, in its own way, be an opportunity both to set boundaries, but may also make clear to you it's, again, the first of 3 aspects. When Venus goes retrograde, she is going to conjunct Neptune and the North Node again. And themes of inspiration and opening up portals for which direction in Pisces we should follow. It's also in the air, stabilizing. As I said, my next video is going to talk about the Venus-Neptune North Node, and especially the Neptune North Node conjunction and the sequence of the Sun and Mercury and the Saturn playing with these two. The North Node isn't really a body, but let's just, for the purpose of this exercise, call it a body or a planet, for these two bodies to be so close together, astrological points, energies to be so close together. So, new moon in Aquarius trining Jupiter, encoding a retrograde Mars trining Saturn, and yes, squaring Chiron, but that just means that action needs to be taken by Mars in Cancer to empower ourselves while we're stabilizing the Saturn part of the chart. And Venus getting close to Neptune and getting close to the North Node. At least the conjunction with the North Node is opportunity filled. There's a prize to go for. And while that conjunction is complicated by the fact that there's a Neptune conjunction with Venus before, and we'll cover that tomorrow, I would really invite us all to look at Jan 29th of 25 to February 27th as an all clear to move towards building what you want to build. Stabilizing the Pisces part of the chart, leaning into the Pisces part of the chart, but also moving towards building what you want to build. And as you get to that full moon in Leo on the 12th that opposes Mercury, something may come up around that full moon that proves to be an inflection point. Do you have to exit something, manage something, so you can move in the direction that Uranus is trying to create for you in the Taurus part of your chart? And I'm mentioning it now because some of you may have a sense of what that might look like. And by that time, the Neptune-North Node conjunction, in the way that I look at the North Node, not as the true node, but as the North Node, is getting closer and closer and closer. That's all. It's a nice new moon. Forward movement. Whatever fantasies we're going to be building this forward movement on between the middle of March to the end of the first week of April, Mercury retrograde will land us on our butts for that anyway, and we'll welcome that process. Now we know what Mercury retrogrades are about, those of you who've been with me, and we welcome the reality checks that they bring, as disappointing as they can be. They might be protecting us from something, protecting us with something that we thought that would work for us, or we should be moving towards, that wasn't very grounded to begin with, or wasn't the right time, or we weren't ready for it. But for now, we get to use the energy of February to create the reality that we want. And it's not without its considerations with regard to how to remain grounded as we do so, because change requires knowing when to take action in such a way that we are not inviting chaos, because change is chaotic enough to begin with. But it's a forward movement month, forward moving energy. Trining Jupiter, Mars trining Saturn, let's go. All right, that is all I want to say about the Aquarius new moon. Those of you who are interested in getting a regular reading, a 2025 reading, which is discounted, or even one of my single topic, single areas of focus 30 to 40 minute readings, use the email address in the description box below to email me. Let me know which country you're writing from so I can get you the right rates. The 2025 reading is only available to the end of this month as a special. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. And when you look at the subscribe button, there's a bell icon. If you hover over it or click the subscribe button, there's an option to select the wiggly bell on top so you're notified whenever I do new videos. There's a thanks button underneath this video. You can use that to donate to the channel, contribute to the channel. Tell your friends, get the word out about the channel. If you think that the content here is useful or helpful, tomorrow I will be doing the video on this Saturn, this Neptune North Node conjunction with Venus and everything else. And look forward to the new moon. Rest today before the new moon if you can, and kind of release the last month. A totally understandable energy. You might be feeling it. And yeah, you can contribute to the channel for free by liking the video or leaving a comment, because it increases circulation on YouTube. All right. Thank you very much for your time, and more to follow soon. Take care.